Pakistan media is reporting that Imran Khan, the former prime minister of the country, is set to be arrested. How can one country afford so much political chaos amid economic turmoil? On the Mojo Story special broadcast this evening, we'll be deconstructing what's happening inside India's neighbor. It is chaos, chaos, and chaos all the way. Police building up at Imran Khan's residence, where a non bailable warrant has been issued. That warrant has been challenged. You can see the buildup of armored tanks, tear gas being used on Imran Khan's supporters as the police arrive to execute this warrant. However, Imran Khan's legal team is still appealing against this warrant. All of this is happening against the backdrop of Pakistan's worst economic crisis in decades. The IMF is yet to release aid to Pakistan, and Shehbaz Sharif, Pakistan's prime minister, is blaming Imran Khan for this. Meanwhile, China is the only country that has refinanced Pakistan in the midst of this crisis, and China's $30 billion aid is now three times that of the IMF's debt. How do we understand what's happening in Pakistan? How should India respond? Should we respond at all? Is Pakistan heading the way of Sri Lanka? And can Pakistan afford a two front war of a different kind, both political and economic? Let's introduce our special experts on the program today. General Atta Hussain, military veteran, former general officer commanding of the Kashmir Valley, the 15th Corps, joins us. Always good to see you, General. Also joining us from England today is one of Pakistan's foremost strategic affairs experts, Dr. Aisha Siddiqa. Pleasure to have you back with us, Aisha. And also joining us on the program is Wajahat Khan. Wajahat is, of course, in Karachi right now, but is otherwise based now out of the United States of America, a very, very senior journalist and commentator. As we go along, we hope to have other voices, both from India and Pakistan, join this broadcast. But before I get first comments in, let's go across live to Pakistan as we speak. Let's bring up those images. To give you a sense of actually what's happening on the ground in Pakistan. These are images courtesy of Pakistan's television channels. As we said, there is chaos. Tear gas has been used on Imran Khan's supporters. The police have arrived to execute what they call a non-bailable warrant. We do not actually know whether this arrest will take place. There have been many, many such days where Imran Khan is all set to be arrested, and then just at the end moment, the courts do intervene and offer him some protection. But let's not lose sight, as it were, of the big picture. All of this is happening as Pakistan slips into unprecedented economic turmoil. Economic turmoil, political chaos, and unstable Pakistan can't be good for India. Aisha, can I get you to give us the big picture? What's going on? What is going on? And can Pakistan afford these twin battles? It is, it's like the Oscar winning movie. It's everything, everywhere, all at once.
Well, Barkha, thanks for inviting me to the program. Well, it's very messy and it's connected as well. I mean, let's not forget that, the economic issue, which is the agreement with the IMF, is something which Imran Khan had left, for the PDM government to take care of. In fact, in many ways, it was his naughty kind of comeback and a naughty settling of scores with both the army chief then General Bajwa and the PDM government that he
Mm.
kind of pushed into power. So on the one hand, that economy is a big problem, but the other is that uh, if a settlement, any agreement with the IMF requires certain level of stability, a political government which is stable, and for that kind of negotiation, um, that stability, that political stability requires political stability in Pakistan, and that is missing, and that is where Imran Khan tends to be posing a problem to the PDM government. This is where we stand, and as I look at it, his he has over this 1 year become very Imran Khan has become very popular, and this is where the problem lies. And so this is a make or
But
break moment.
is his popularity his fault? Is his street popularity, his street cred?
No,
So,
I'm not saying that I'm
no,
not
no,
his.
I'm asking you this because Shehbaz Sharif, the Prime Minister of Pakistan, has blamed Imran Khan for the IMF's sort of resistance to releasing aid. How do you see it?
Well, I think that is this is political gimmickry. I mean, I'm not saying that Imran Khan is at fault. I think what I said was initially Imran Khan had left the the IMF agreement, which then the political government has to sort out. But then political government, the current political government, PDM, also has very little clue how to sort out affairs with the IMF. There are things that they have to be carried out. So, and a financial agreement. So one of the things where where talks with IMF stand at the moment or stand still at the moment is follows. Two things which are important. Firstly, IMF is insisting that all government spending should be put under account number one, where there is resistance, especially from the army. The second issue is that they're saying that we are going to release 1.1 billion, provided that there is guarantee of another 5 billion of external funding. So there is about 2 billion which has arrived, which is from China, and there's another 3 billion which was promised, which they expected would come from Saudi Arabia and UAE. So that is not coming as yet. So with that 5 billion, so it's like putting cattle before the horse, or horse before cart before the horse, or horse before the cart. So IMF is saying, give us guarantee and we'll release the money. Other
Hmm.
parties are saying, get IMF guarantee and we'll release the money. So this is where it stands, and I don't think that is Imran Khan's fault. These are two independent issues, which is Imran Khan and IMF happening at the same time.
Okay, I can also see Barrister Pansota joining us. Welcome to the program. Let me just get a sense from General Hussain, and then we'll go back to our friends from Pakistan, both Wajahat and Ahmed Pansota, in a moment from now. General Hussain, India's been quiet, as we should be. These are Pakistan's internal affairs. But an unstable Pakistan has consequences for the region. China's bailing out of Pakistan. China's $30 billion aid today stands at three times the amount of the IMF's debt. If you look at those numbers as we just saw, and Pakistan, going closer and closer into the embrace of China cannot be something that we do not have an opinion on. Is this a time for us to be concerned?
Well, Barkha, first of all, it's good to be speaking on Pakistan without relating it too much to security as far as Indo Pakistan relations are concerned. But yes, as to your question, definitely we should be concerned. Although I do strongly feel that what's happening in Pakistan at the moment is yet to become an existential threat to Pakistan. Uh, the economy is in shambles, there's no doubt. There is a creeping issue of terrorism, internal security, which is in shambles at the moment. There is street turbulence, which is taking place. The army is not in a position to step in. No one is demanding the army to step in. The army is very unpopular and probably perhaps does not want to step in itself. So it is an awkward kind of a situation which is actually moving towards an existential issue. And
Hmm.
that is something which Pakistan will have to avoid. Because if that happens, then turmoil and then external agencies are going to start drying up. The IMF itself would not like to step into an issue where Pakistan is imploding.
Hmm.
China itself will not want it. China is reputed never to give out anything in terms of free lunches. Would not like to see something being given out without any possible returns. So I think at the moment the combination of all these factors, the economic factor, the social factor, the political turbulence, the street problems that are taking place, the lack of a sincere leader who can actually bring this entire thing together and put to give it
Yeah.
some form of a leadership. All this is wanting at the
And, and
moment.
and 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 yet you say briefly that this is not an existential crisis yet. You do not believe
I
Pakistan
do believe, I
is
do believe it's
standing.
still not. Yes, it
Yeah,
is. It
and
is certainly
can
not.
we take the banner off so we can see our guests? General Hussain, those are live images, by the way, just coming in from Pakistan. So we just wanted to cut live to them. But General Hussain, you don't believe Pakistan is yet Sri Lanka.
No, I do not. I do not believe that. Sri Lanka, yes, it reached that point of no return very, very early. In fact, Pakistan being a larger nation, perhaps, and having greater international linkages. You see, Sri Lanka was isolated. Only India came to its aid at that time. Even China didn't really come to its assistance. But Pakistan is better networked. it's got the UAE, Saudi connection, it's got the American connection, it's got the Chinese connection, it's got the IMF supporting it. So I think Pakistan will be able to pull through, provided some semblance of leadership, some kind of a unity in this situation emerges. And I hope that will probably emerge in the near future.
I don't see any signs of that unity. Wajahat, do you? Do you see this to be a crisis of leadership? Do you see this to be a structural crisis? You see, a country can, usually political instability accompanies an economic turmoil or the other way around. Here, those two strands are not necessarily connected, even though both the PPP and the PMLN are blaming Imran Khan for the way the International Monetary Fund is behaving with Pakistan. How do you see it, Wajahat?
I think this has been a classic exercise in self-immolation from all camps. I think if you go back beyond last April, Barkha, Khan self-immolated because of political hubris, inefficiencies in governance, picking clowns from a circus that was his cabinet. The only important thing he was doing by the end of it was really planting trees, which is important, but that you can't run the world's fifth largest country by a so-called billion tree tsunami. If you really ask me what Khan did, I don't know. Besides tree planting, I don't really know. I can't really tell you. But then moving on, fast forward post April 22 into this year, this is almost a 12-month-old government. They're lacking a security plan. They don't have an economic plan. There's a lot of infighting. They don't understand how to deal with the IMF. They have a guy who should have retired in the 90s who's still dealing with them. His nickname is Ishaq Dalar, not Ishaq Dar, because of his ineptitude. As they have, there's been a serious crisis within the country as far as policing is concerned. They've been killing journalists. They've been using the law and authorities whimsically to either shut down Imran Khan, arrest activists, etc. Fast forwarding to the other side of the Islamabad divide, across the bridge is Rawalpindi, which is the actual capital of Islamabad because of Pakistan, because it's home to the army. And I mean, I've spent a career covering these guys. The army is used to be, I'm going to say, one of the most prestigious, one of the most efficient, one of the most effective institutions in this country. But the deterioration in the chain of command and in the average IQ of the average Pakistani general has been astonishing, especially in the last few years and in the last few months. The moves that the military has made politically, diplomatically, internally and externally have been astoundingly ridiculous. They create a guy literally out of nowhere, a guy who had 1, 2, maybe 3 seats for a good decade or so. I'm talking about Imran Khan. Then they push an entire state machine behind him. They put him up for a decade. They make him this hero. They berate the two-party narrative for a good decade and a half. They make sure that everybody thinks that Zardari, the head of the PPP, is a thief. They make sure that everybody thinks that Nawaz Sharif, the head of the PMLN, is a thief. They bring this guy in, give him a hero's welcome, then turn on him within 2.5 years. And all of a sudden, they think that the whole country, including the military itself, should just U-turn, just like they're doing. Listen, they can do a left, right. The rest of the country can't. And what you're seeing thus is
you're sounding grimmer than General Hussain is. I mean, you're sounding more critical of the Pakistani military.
I am disappointed in the way you have to deal with the military as far as the politics is concerned. That's just the rule in Pakistan. India and everybody else needs to understand that. Unfortunately, that's a grim reality. That's the grimness. But what I was expecting were better decisions. Imran Khan has proven himself to be more dangerous outside than inside. He was an excellent opposition leader. Even 7-8 years ago, he had the country at a standstill. Remember that in the 2014s, 15s, he had this fantastic spectacle of a dharna where the country was effectively paralyzed by one man and his energy. And he's proven, despite getting shot, by the way, recently, he's proven, despite getting shot, that he can still lead such an increasingly popular movement. But the fact that he's got clowns to deal with on the other side. Not that I'm not lauding Imran Khan for his governance, but I am going to laud him and give him credit for remarkably astute politics. considering even the day, even the event of today. He's out for at least he's wanted for at least 2 arrests, for at least 2 warrants. We're not clear which warrant. There's a threat he made against a judge, and then there's a reference against him for selling for buying state property undervalued and then selling it. That's the Toshkhana reference.
The
But the fact is,
Tosha
right,
Khana case, expensive
right,
gifts. Yes.
right. But the
Yes.
fact is
Yeah.
that he's bought this up because he refuses to go to court, and they're not picking him up for the crime.
Okay, you bunched
of
up there.
doing this.
Let me just jump in there, because you've said you said a whole lot of things, including expressing a kind of cynical disappointment with how Pakistan's generals have behaved, expressing deterioration in the sort of influence and the command that Pakistan's military enjoyed. You're talking about it as a thing of the past. Ahmed Pansota, is it a thing of the past? Is this Imran Khan clashing with the Pakistan military, or is this Imran Khan clashing with other sections of Pakistan politics? Or is it, as Aisha Siddiqa has often pointed out, Imran Khan in a section of the Pakistan military versus the rest of the Pakistan military? Which one is it?
Well, I'd like to go for the last option. I believe that it is not the entire military that Imran Khan is against. There is a certain portion within the military or the establishment, as we put it. And if you look at Pakistani politics, starting from Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, that has been the case ever since Bhutto came into power. Then it was Nawaz Sharif. Everybody eventually went against the military establishment. And I believe even at this stage, this is precisely what Imran Khan is doing, because apart from that, it's a battle for his existence in politics at the moment. So he's left with no option but to do that. I agree with Mr. Wajahat to the extent that he was brought into power by the military. Of course, there was a sizable support from the military and the establishment. But at this point in time, he has completely been abandoned by almost everybody in Pakistan. I believe, except a certain segment of judiciary and especially Supreme Court of Pakistan, there is nothing that possibly Imran Khan can rely on at the moment. So Imran Khan is trying his level best to create that space. And now that he's obviously voicing his concerns against the military establishment as well, and mind you, I'm only referring to a part of that military establishment, because I feel, and there's a sentiment prevalent here in Pakistan as well, that sizable portion of military, I'm not talking about the establishment itself, but the military is with Imran Khan, and people are very vocal about supporting Imran Khan. So I believe that at this point in time, he's left with no choice but to position himself like this.
This is bewildering, and I want Aisha to explain it further, because if a sizable section of the Pakistan military is with him, and we know that the civilian establishment can't really exist without the blessings of the military, is this the Pakistan military at odds or at battle with itself? I think that's the elephant in the room. But General Hussain, were you taken aback by Wajahat's very strong words about the Pakistan military in particular, which he clubs with other poor decision making that has led to what he calls, quote unquote, a moment of self-immolation for Pakistan?
See, Barkha, actually, before we jumped into your program, Wajahat and all of us were discussing this issue, and I pointedly asked him this question: where is the Pakistan army today in this situation? Is it popular, unpopular? Is it likely that civil society will fall back on the army to come and rescue it in a situation of total political turbulence in the country? And the answer which Wajahat gave me at that time, is exactly what he alluded to later, that the Pakistan army today is a different ball today. They are not popular. They are very unpopular, in fact, and they are divided. It's a divided house with him. And one of the prime reasons for it, I continue to believe, because we keep studying the Pakistan army too here, is this whole influence of extremism, radical thinking, etc., which has seeped into it. And there is a clear-cut division among those who are the more pragmatic, more sensible, more centric elements within the Pakistan armed forces, and those which are totally radicalized. Imran and them had been together for some time, but obviously the Pakistan army found him very uncomfortable because he was not willing to be manipulated by them at that time, perhaps. So I do think that the Pakistan army still continues to remain a very important factor. Of course, you can't rule them out of this entire situation, but their ability to move things at the moment seem to be diluted to a great extent.
That's very interesting. And Aisha, would you agree? And I asked this because the only other time that I remember the Pakistan military being seen as being weakened and therefore an opportunity, a space opening up for civilian parties was when Osama bin Laden was taken out by the Americans, kind of under the nose of the Pakistan military establishment. And that is when Yusuf Gilani goes onto the floor of Pakistan's National Assembly and calls the ISI a state within a state. Uh, what's happening now? When do you think the Pakistan military is weaker than ever before, or do you think that's kind of pipe dreaming by people on the street who may finally feel that they have a chance to express themselves politically and democratically freely?
Well, Barkha, well, it's a bit of a long question, but let me get
I
back.
know. Sorry, I
Let
was just
me let,
putting
yeah,
it
let
in
me get
context.
yeah,
Yeah.
let me no, let me get back to what General Atta Hassan's comments. I don't think the problem right now that we are seeing on the streets is exactly because of radicalization with the army. That is a different problem. I mean, there is radicalism, but this is not that kind of a radicalism. I think, let me lay out what the problems have been. See, systematically, this is what happens, and this is not something odd which is happening to the Pakistani military. When militaries get politicized, and over period they lose their ability to step away from politics. This has happened in the case of Indonesian military. This has happened in the case of Myanmar military. This has happened in case of Egyptian military, other militaries as well. Now, what Pakistan military had done so far, or up until now, it has not been directly kind of using force. And what we see here today in Lahore is that it's a political government on behalf, with military in the background, using force. They've sent police, they've sent other paramilitary forces to deal with Imran Khan. So if there is going to be a blow up, the military can always sit on the side and say, we didn't do it. It's a political government which did it. But the
Yeah.
fact of the matter is that over this period, two things have happened. One is that, uh, yes, they build up Imran Khan, but let's not also forget that all of these people who are out on the streets and supporting Imran Khan, I would argue that not necessarily out of love for Imran Khan, but resentment and frustration with the traditional political parties.
Hmm.
Um, the loot and plunder, which has not been proven, is also there. I mean, to step away and say that no, 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 these parties didn't do anything because the National Accountability Bureau didn't prove anything. I think the problem is that systems, political systems, administrative systems, anti corruption systems have failed for political reasons, not because they couldn't prove anything. So
Yeah.
Musharraf started National Accountability Bureau, but then he stepped away from it because he was going to make a
So,
compromise.
so
So,
here's my question to you. And I can see Ambassador Vivek Kaju is with us, and I'll go to him in just a moment. Aisha, my question is this: if Imran Khan is arrested, firstly, do you believe it will actually happen, or is it the boy who cries wolf? This has become like a boy who cries wolf moment. Do you
well,
believe he's going to jail?
I think they've sent the force, and the use of force that's happening. I think they mean business. The government wants to arrest him, and if they don't arrest him, honestly, it's going to be so bad. It's going to be egg on their face. So it's like they've caught themselves at a moment where there's no option, and the mess is not going to stop here. I think people are going to fight back. It's going to be messy on the streets.
On the streets. And sorry, can I just ask Wajahat the same question? If he is arrested, let's assume Aisha, as Aisha says, the government wants to act. It doesn't. Imran Khan's party doesn't get relief from the courts. Imran Khan is arrested. Doesn't that make Imran Khan an even bigger political figure? Doesn't that increase his street cred? And where does that leave the Pakistan military, large sections of which, as all of you seem to suggest, still like Imran Khan? Wajahat?
Right. Excellent question. And it leads to the classic Americanism, damned if you do and damned if you don't. If you do, well, all hell breaks loose. The fit hits the shan. His followers, millions of them, get very, very, very angry. They already are. One quick sneak peek at Twitter will tell you that. Go to any Pakistani channel right now. You can see it on their faces. You can see it on
Yeah.
social. It's going to
Yeah.
get worse. And if you don't, then he gets more and more powerful. Now, let's go back to some reporting. We've been hearing from military circles and diplomatic circles and governance circles since the winter that there is no space, Barka, no space for Imran Khan in GHQ. A very senior military officer told me this in England. This was something which had been dispatched to the embassies. This was something which was being discussed in political circles and diplomatic circles abroad. Now, if you take that and you reverse engineer that and you try to figure out what's next, well, guess what? This country's seen worse. I remember in 2007 when they killed Benazir Bhutto. It was around 6 or 7, maybe 8 days of chaos. Aisha, correct me if I'm wrong. And then guess what? 3 months later, her husband was president. This
Yeah.
military establishment, whatever you want to call them, the powers that be who pull all the strings here, have perfected the art of creating a situation which is chaotic, emerging as the all-powerful player, and then restarting from wherever they want to restart. However, this time it may be different. Imran
And
has
yet,
done.
yeah,
Imran
sorry,
has last
can I
line
hold you there? Yeah,
has
go
done
ahead.
more damage to the military out of power than any premier opposition leader has probably in Pakistan's history in these last 11 months, Parker.
Imran has done more damage to in a sense, the Pakistan military than any other leader, argues Mujahid Khan. Those are strong words. Ambassador Karju, we were waiting for your perspective. I know you've served in Pakistan, studied Pakistan, dealt with Pakistan. General Hussain was saying earlier he still doesn't believe this is an existential crisis, and in a way, Mujahid is speaking to that. That the country has seen worse. It's been singed and burnt many times over. That the Pakistan military is the veritable cat with 9 or more lives. What do you think? Vasikaju, can you hear us? Because we can't hear you. No, can't hear you. General Hussain, do you want to jump in on the same question? You've heard a lot about the Pakistan military. I think for a lot of Indians, the interesting question would be, what does this all mean for India? Vasikaju, we can't hear you, sir.
Can you hear me now, Barkha?
We can. Go ahead, sir. Yeah.
Look, Barkha, I'm sorry, I never served in Pakistan, but I've observed Pakistan for a long time, professionally and otherwise. I think that the Pakistani army has simply no choice but to try to finish Imran Khan politically, whatever the cost of that enterprise may be. The problem is, as I joined in late, but I'm sure my colleagues on the panel would have said, the problem is that in the last 11 months, his popularity has still continued. And therefore, the Pakistan military has to pay a price to rein him in. Now, the question is whether the Pakistan military will remain united. I think it's a professional military. It will remain united. The only issue is that Asim Munir has still not shown his hand. He's very, very quiet. He hasn't made any public statements. But to my mind, the army has simply no choice. And finally, if push comes to shove, for the last 75 years, the Pakistan people have been fed with the narrative that the army is the only guardian which can save Pakistan from the permanent enemy, India. So if it is a choice between Imran Khan and the army, there may be a few hotheads which will have to be crushed, but the Pakistan people as a whole, to my mind, will stand with the army. I don't see at this time anyone sort of willing to bare their chests and face army bullets, so to speak, if the army gets bloody minded, which it will. Let us have no illusions on that score.
I can see both our friends from Pakistan wanting to jump in there. Give us a second, both Wajahat and Aisha. I just want to bring in General Hussain on that original question that I was asking. What does this all mean for the neighborhood, for India, for the entire South Asian region, for Afghanistan next door, for China? That is literally going to be looking at Pakistan as a vassal state with the amount of money it's pumping in. General Hussain.
See, Barkha, instability in Pakistan affects everyone. The geostrategic location is such, and civilizations all around it, and things like that. So everyone is affected, and there's no doubt about it. But I still continue to believe that we've gone through this a couple of times before, perhaps. In the past too, when Pakistan has 23 times has gone to the IMF. Of course, it's never been as bad as it is this time. But somehow it's got a knack of overcoming the issues at the end of it, to some form of brinkmanship, almost right till the end, and then pulling out of the morass at some stage or the other. So I do feel that that's why I stick to my original stand, that it's still not reached an existential issue in Pakistan. Of course, if Pakistan starts imploding, if it implodes, and that's what I can see what Ambassador Karju is saying. He is saying that Pakistan is virtually at that stage today where the army needs to step in. If that be true, then I really think we should be concerned, hugely concerned, because an imploding Pakistan can mean a hell of a lot for us in terms of security, not just the issues of Kashmir and traditional issues of that kind, but much more.
Of course, there's nuclear power. There's nuclear power
Yes.
involved. There's the button. Who controls the button? Is it in safe hands? That's the main question. But the world, therefore, I have always believed, will not allow Pakistan to actually collapse because of how high the stakes are for the world, not just for the region. Wajahat and Aisha, I am confused. Even as a student of Pakistan, a reporter on Pakistan for decades, I'm confused by the contradictions in this conversation. On the one hand, both of you seem to suggest Imran Khan's popularity is at his highest. On the other hand, you also say Imran Khan has done enormous damage to institutions. Thirdly, you say that I've heard two different strands of argument. One, that there's no space in Pakistan's GHQ for him. The other, that he couldn't have got to this point without a section of the army with him. I'm confused. Let me start with you, Wajahat.
Okay. So you don't really find the great Barkha Dutt confused. So
I am. You've confounded me. Pakistan has confounded me at this point.
All right. So here's the bottom line.
Yeah.
So there's two Imrans. All right. There's the Imran before April 22 last year, and there's the Imran now. The Imran before April 22, when he was prime minister for around 3.5 years, a leader of the opposition, or one of the leaders of the opposition for a good decade and a half, was reputedly close to the army, needed the army, wanted the army, played footsie with the army, played footsie successfully with the army, got to the prime minister's house thanks to the army, and of course, as the Beatles said, with some love from his friends, with some help from his friends, right? But post April 22, things changed. The fiery opposition leader was back on. The aggressive cricket bowler was back on. Was no holds barred because he felt he'd been betrayed. And really, that's a narrative which turned on the army from even within, which was a reference made earlier by one of our friends who's no longer on the panel. So that's where he exploited, brilliant politically, exploited the schisms within the army, as well as the larger support which was rising for him. Even people
so
who
can
got
he make
involved.
it? If there's no space for him in GHQ, can he make it as prime minister once again?
Good question. And that's where I would disagree with one of our panelists. I think it was the good ambassador who said that the army chief hasn't showed his hand. Well, he has showed his hand. What do you think is happening today? You think the Islamabad police would come to the Imran Khan's house all the way to Lahore without a green light from GHQ? I mean, the army chief doesn't have to say anything. Less is more. And we're seeing more on the ground. And I do agree with the ambassador that there's very little space. In fact, perhaps no space in the army's mind for Khan, considering that they've seen his belligerence, they've seen what he can do when he's outside, when he's shunned by them. Listen, other leaders have been shunned by them in the past before, but they go away with their tails between their legs to Riyadh or London or Dubai. They go in self-exile, they go away for a few years, cut deals and return. That's the cycle. But not Khan.
Okay.
Khan stuck around and
Aisha,
right
do you agree that the fact that an Imran Khan is not in London, unlike, let's say, a Nawaz Sharif, is going to only enhance his credibility on the street? And how long, and that's the operative question, can the Pakistan military resist the sentiment on the street?
If I could answer, Barkha, the thing is that yes, he is out there fighting, and that goes for his popularity. Now, this is a peculiar situation for the Pakistan army, which it has never experienced before. He's not going away. He's not boarding a plane. He is right there. And this is important. Um, this is something which this is a crisis from which the army will not emerge unscathed itself. There is a A and a plan B for the PTI, and the plan B is that you disqualify him through the judiciary, and then a -1 formula. So a -1 formula, which Shah Mahmood Qureshi has already spoken that if it happens, if something happens legally happens to Imran Khan, then he will step in. But you hold elections tomorrow. You cannot wish PTI away. That is becoming a much clearer fact than it was yesterday. What they're trying to do is use force to silence him. And every day that the clock ticks, and people are also talking about, and I'm not saying that it's for the first time ever, people are not wishing the army to come back. What they want is elections to be held. It's political parties like PMLN who don't want elections to be held immediately because they are going to lose. So the fact of the matter is that these actions are going to make Imran Khan even more popular.
And so let me just, sorry, Wajad, I know your hands up, but Ambassador Kaj has been waiting to speak, so I'm going to go to him first. But it is confounding, right? The same Nawaz Sharif pushed into Saudi Arabia by a Musharraf, taking on one army chief after the other and getting his hands burned, is today the party doing business with the establishment, while the same Imran Khan, who seemed to be sort of the poster boy of the military, is today presenting or positioning himself as the rebel, but with a little bit of help from his friends within the army. How does this all end? Does it end? And can it take Pakistan down? Because let's not forget, as riveting as this political drama is for those of us who observe Pakistan, there's a very, very serious economic crisis that is pushing Pakistan virtually into sort of China's tightest embrace ever. Ambassador.
No, the Chinese embrace is, of course, there and it will get tighter. I think many Pakistanis are uncomfortable with the tightness of the embrace, but that doesn't matter. That's point one. Second, I take our colleague Wajahat Saab's point that Asim Munir finally has shown his hand and that the police and use of force to arrest him wouldn't be there unless Munir gave it a green signal. My point is that as of now, the army simply has no choice. The army has to act. It has to pay a price for its acting, but I don't think that the army generals, the corps commanders, and to my mind, the ultimate cabinet of Pakistan is the army chief with his corps commanders. That they are no shrinking violets. If blood has to be shed on the streets of Lahore, they will shed it. Because they know full well that at the end of the day, the India as a permanent enemy narrative, and that they being the only guardians of the Pakistan state against this marauding monster India, is the narrative that still sails. If my Pakistani friends tell me that this narrative is gone, I'll be personally delighted. But I've seen no evidence of this narrative going. So as long as this narrative is deeply in the people of Pakistan, Imran Khan is a difficult proposition to handle. It will be messy, it will be bloody, but the army will do it. After all, let's not forget the army's history. They hung up Bhutto. They killed his daughter. Were they shrinking violets then? Have things changed so completely vis-a-vis in the Indian narrative in the past decade and a half? Have we seen any evidence of it? So how can I, as an analyst, now believe that the army will shrink from shedding blood? Yes, that will be the last stage. stage.
So
But
it's
if
an
they have
interesting
to come to
question,
that stage,
Shah.
they'll come to that stage.
Okay, I know Wajah is getting touchy about wanting to make a point, but I just want to be even-handed about the time I give everybody. So, General Hussain, just jump in there. This is at the heart of it, right? Is there anything different in Pakistan pre and post coup? Post coup Pakistan is probably easier for the Pakistan military because I think, as someone said earlier in the program, you don't have to be the front face of force. You can send out the police, you can pretend that it's a civilian decision, you can wash your hands off it if it goes wrong. But Ambassador Kaju makes the point that if push comes to shove, the Pakistan military will not hesitate to draw the red line and remind everybody, in Imran Khan in particular, who's the boss.
There is no doubt about it, Barkha. What Ambassador Kaju says is absolutely right. If it comes to the final decision, if Pakistan is just imploding, there is no other option but for the Pakistan army to step in. And I think many international players would perhaps welcome that. The ones who may not, for example, are the IMF. After all, you're still negotiating a loan with them. The tranches
Yeah.
are still coming in. They won't be too happy about a thing like this. But I'm just wondering whether the Pakistan army itself will want to come in. Because, of course, there's no doubt that the extreme moment when everything is gone up in flames, there is no other option but for the Pakistan army to step in. But as long as it can be helped, Pakistan army would prefer to keep its hands away from the mess and continue to blame the political community for whatever has been created and continue to hold the strings from behind. That is the reality. But I tend to agree that if it comes to an imploding Pakistan, ultimately there is no other option but for the Pakistan army to step in.
Okay, uncertainty continues over whether this arrest is actually going to happen. Wajahat, before you make your analytical point, do you believe it's going to happen?
Well, if it does happen, then the consequences will be brutal for the army's reputation, for the standing of the government, and for law and order on a regular daily basis. There's a poll which we've all been missing. It's sort of been the elephant in the room in my analysis, which I must take you all to. It was taken out last week. It was published last week, rather, by Gallup. We all respect Gallup as a great pollster. The most popular man in the country is Imran Khan at 61%. Guess who the second most popular man in the country is? Well, you heard of him, Nawaz Sharif, at 36%. 36 versus 61. At the third number is the Prime Minister, 31%. Nawaz Sharif can't run for office. He has his own cases against him. So basically, the Prime Minister is roughly at half of the popularity of Mr. Khan. Now, everybody else is lower than these guys.
But is that because every time whoever is the anti-establishment figure in Pakistan is always the most popular? Whether it's
Of course,
Benazir,
being in
when Mia
opposition,
Saab was anti-establishment, he had more street cred than Imran does today.
Not necessarily. Imran Khan hasn't seen these numbers in a while. No opposition leader has seen these numbers in a while, Barkha. Here's the problem. The problem is, as pointed out in the Plan A, Plan B by Aisha, that there's a Plan C as well, which is what Khan has been harping on about. And the Plan C, the elephant in the room again, has been that they're going to kill him. Right? That's what he says. That's why he doesn't go to court. That's what he's been. That's what his narrative is, and people are buying it. So if you can't arrest him, you can't disqualify him, then might as well kill him. That's what his supporters are saying. That will happen. And if that happens, again, Pakistan has seen bloodier days. Pakistan has been ripped apart by a bloody civil war. Pakistan's killed its own. It's very good at killing its own. But I fear, back to Ambassador Kaju's analysis, that this time around, if the army either directly takes over or indirectly harms him or something happens to Khan, I feel like the army doesn't have the sort of legs to stand on which it has in the past, since 71, since 77, since 79 rather, since 2007, since now. Primarily because what Khan, the sort of narrative that Khan has built in the last 11 months has been detrimental to the army from within and without. I've never seen anything like it. I've never studied anything like it. And that might force their hand, which seems to be the game he's playing today. He's trying to force it.
Ambassador Kaju, and then I'll give Aisha the last word unless General Hussain wants to jump in. Ambassador Kaju, go ahead.
आप वजाहत साहब के मुंह में घी शक्कर, but I wish I could agree with him.
Why don't you agree? Why don't you agree?
No, because look, if Imran Khan is arrested, there will be an upsurge. But then there will be politicians within his own party who would very, very carefully decide their future. That is the nature of politics. If they come to the conclusion that they have no future, Imran is gone, the army has decided this fellow will go, whatever the price has to be paid, then rats will desert a sinking ship. That is the nature of politics. And I don't think Pakistani politics is any different. Yehi jo hai, Shah Mahmood Qureshi might be the very first to stick the knife into Imran. This is the nature of politics.
Well, it is less
ये होता है भाई, इसमें कोई फर्क है, कोई नई चीज है। हमने बर्रे सगीर के तारीख में ये कई बार देखा है कि जो सबसे बड़ा चौड़ा दिखता है, जब उसकी वीकनेस आती है तो पहली चीज उसी को छोड़ा जाता है। I'm sorry, I'm slipping into.
नहीं, आप सही कह रहे हैं, आप बिल्कुल सही फरमा रहे हैं, लेकिन ये ज्यादा रेलेवेंट है काजू साहब कि स्ट्रक्चरली क्या होता है, who heads the PTI, who backstabs whom is less relevant than structurally what happens to the Pakistan military. I think that is the question.
पाकिस्तान मिलिट्री कहीं जाने वाली नहीं है। अभी तक मुझे कोई एविडेंस नहीं दिखा है कि पाकिस्तान मिलिट्री कहीं जा रही है। आयशा जी तो सब जानती हैं, पाकिस्तान मिलिट्री की जिस दिन इकोनॉमिक कमर्शियल होल्डिंग्स पे पाकिस्तान की आवाम उंगली उठाने लगेगी और कहने लगेगी कि ये लैंड माफिया जो है, बिकॉज पाकिस्तान मिलिट्री एट द एंड ऑफ द डे इज अ लैंड माफिया। आई हैव कम टू दैट कंक्लूजन। तब मैं कहूंगा कि हाँ, आप कुछ फर्क पड़ रहा है।
Let's bring in Aisha. Aisha, go ahead.
देखिए, Kaju Saab is very skeptical, of course, but he also knows that looking at militaries around the world who are in politics, that things become problematic even for them. The thing is that Mr. Shah Mahmood Qureshi can stick a knife into Mr. Imran Khan, but the problem is that without Imran Khan, there is no PTI. So they can have elections, they can win elections, but people revolve around Imran Khan, not Shah Mahmood Qureshi. Shah Mahmood Qureshi's own daughter couldn't win elections from Multan if that is where popularity lies. The problem is that it's going to be a very jolty journey, even if the military kind of tries to revive and push Imran Khan back. And that is the real, that is the reality. This is a difficult case, number one. And secondly, Asim Munir, even he may, try to present himself as a man completely in charge. But the fact is that over years, over decades, the generalship has also become more compromised than it ever was. He may appear to be trying to take control of things, but the problem is that he's not being able to take control and take charge the same way as his predecessors did. And even if they bring in a martial law, even if they jump into the fray directly, things are going to be more problematic, much more problematic than they ever were. So this is a first one for everyone.
Can I just jump in? I'm so sorry. Imran Khan has just released this video. I'm sure you'll all want to react to it. I was going to close the show, but let's listen in. Up sound, please. Can't hear.
पुलिस मुझे जेल में पकड़ने के लिए आ गई है बाहर, और उनका ये ख्याल है कि जब इमरान खान जेल में चला जाएगा तो कौम सो जाएगी। आपने इनको गलत साबित करना है। आपने ये साबित करना है कि जिंदा कौम है, ये मोहम्मद मुस्तफ़ा नबी सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम की उम्मत है, ये ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह के नारे के ऊपर बनने वाली कौम है। आपने अपने हकूक के लिए, हकीकी आज़ादी के लिए आपने जद्दोजहद करनी और निकलना है बाहर। देखिए, इमरान खान को अल्लाह ने सब कुछ दे चुका है। मैं आपकी ये जंग लड़ रहा हूं, मैं तो अपनी सारी जिंदगी जंग लड़ी और लड़ता रहूंगा, लेकिन अगर मुझे कुछ होता है या जेल में जाता हूं या मार देते हैं, तो आपने ये साबित करना है कि इमरान खान के बगैर भी ये कौम जद्दोजहद करेगी और ये बदतरीन गुलामी इन चोरों की और ये जो एक आदमी फैसले कर रहा है इस मुल्क के, ये कभी आप कबूल नहीं करेंगे। पाकिस्तान जिंदाबाद।
Okay, he's urging quite literally a popular revolt on the streets. General Hussain, do I see your hand go up? General Hussain, go ahead, and then I'll come back to Aisha, and we do have to close very soon.
I
Hussain,
just have a very,
yeah.
very brief comment. Here in India, 5 years ago, we were talking about Imran Khan being the selected prime minister and not the elected prime minister.
Yeah.
That's because of the backdrop, because of the influence of the Pakistan army. It could do what it wanted. I'm not sure that situation exists in Pakistan today. If push comes to shove tomorrow, will the Pakistan army be able to pull it off this time to have a selected prime minister? I don't think so. And therefore, this will probably translate into a tremendous amount of chaos on the streets of Pakistan.
And Imran Khan is virtually, Aisha, urging the people to come out and let's just update those key quotes from those comments. Dr. Siddiqa, go ahead.
It's very worrying. I mean, it basically means more chaos on the streets of Lahore. Indeed, it is worrying, and he's pitching his people, his support base against the police at the moment, which is going to make things more troubling. Lahore is going to be more chaotic. But so either the military is going to watch and not step in and let the politicians deal with it. I think this is what General Asim Munir's plan is at the moment. I don't think he's going to come in directly, but it's going to be more chaotic on the streets of Lahore.
Wajahat, when you hear Imran Khan virtually saying one man cannot take decisions for this country, come out against this, right? He is exhorting people against Pakistan's, I thought, army chief. I don't know which is the one man he was referring to. What did you think he was referring to, Wajahat?
I mean, he's the one who cannot be named, clearly. But the fact that sounded like a goodbye note, that sounded almost like they're going to take me soon. That sounded like if I end up in jail or worse, here's what you need to do, goes on to underscore that things are coming to a head. Now, war game quickly. He gets arrested, whisked away, spends a few days in jail, comes back out. Hopefully, due diligence, due process, everybody's safe and we restart. Sure. Worse things happen in jail. Just last week, they killed one of his workers in custody in Lahore, and then threw his body out and now walking away from the crime scene. Postmortems and independent observers have called it what it is. It's an extrajudicial killing. It's fired up his movement more. God forbid, I'm not very religious, and I'm not definitely religious on TV, but God forbid, God help the people of Pakistan, whether you like him or hate him, distrust him or deplore him or envy him or want to be him, Imran Khan, if something happens to him after his arrest, which seems imminent now, if something happens to him, the streets are going to burn. And the army, as thick-skinned as it has been for 75 years, with its 200 nuclear weapons and its 700,000 men, cannot stand between the people of Pakistan and what they want. I think this is a very dark moment. If they're going to take him away, they better keep him safe and they better follow the due process of law.
Basil Kaju, are you a little more convinced? Did you hear the goodbye in Imran Khan's speech that Wajahat did?
Yes, of course. I think I read what he said as telling his people that I'm going to jail and that they may do anything with me, but you must stand up against the army. As Wajahat Saab said, the man who cannot be named is obviously Asim Munir. I can name him because I'm safe. I can name him. But the fact is, I've also taken what Aisha ji is saying, that the army it's a very sensitive time for the army, but this is not the first time. Has the army ever been when push came to shove, been reluctant to see blood. I don't go to 1971. I come closer. And the army is certain. The army, I'm sure, is certain. They've done their calculations and they would have had their links with the PTI leadership. ये बातें हैं. इमरान खान, मैं तो आपको याद दिलाता हूं, मुशर्रफ साहब भी वापस आए थे अपना सीना चौड़ा करके.
बिल्कुल.
Once a political leader, that is what has been seen. Once a political leader is seen by his people, कि वो गया. The first people, as I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, the first people who desert him are the people closest to him.
Okay, so two very different.
And when that happens, everyone else, poor chaps who've been killed and who die and storming the barricades are the guys who suffer. And I don't see that any different. And the army will not relinquish its hold anytime soon. It has to be a long process. This will not lead to it.
Okay, so that's two completely diametrically opposing perspectives from Wajahat and Ambassador Kaju. To Aisha, very briefly before I close, there's tear gas shelling inside Imran Khan's residence. Can we cut to those pictures as we talk in the end? General Hussain raised a point, and that point was, is the age of the selected prime minister over? Is it over? Those are the images from inside Mr. Khan's residence. You heard in his video, he's exhorting people to stand up against the diktats of one man, a veiled reference to Pakistan's army chief. Quite clear in that video message that he believes he's going to jail. Sorry, Aisha, go ahead with your last thoughts.
I agree here. I agree with in a way with Wajahat and also with Ambassador Kaju. I think with Imran Khan, if Imran Khan is gone, taken to jail, the problem is that issue then will be that where will the PTI leadership stand to fight his case and take the movement on the streets? People are people are with him. This should be very clear. If they hold elections, and it seems that elections will not be held until end of the year or maybe next year. There will be delay. PMLN will not be ready. PPP will not be ready to contest elections. So, and I don't think that the establishment would want elections to be held. So, in that case, will the PTI leadership get together and have a movement? And we also know that if there is no movement, if there is no leadership to lead people from the front, then that initiative is lost.
Yeah.
So he may be elected, he is very popular, but they are going to if they're going to shut him down and if they're going to push him back, then what does it mean for Pakistan's democracy?
I think it's worth remembering that Benazir was very popular. They killed her.
Yeah.
Nawaz Sharif was very popular at a point. They completely enfeebled him. And Imran Khan may be as popular as he is today, but has something shifted, as Wajahat says, or is it same old, as Ambassador Kaju says? General Hussain has the elephant in the room question. Is the age of Pakistan's selected prime minister over? As they say, watch this space. This is going to be a long evening. We'll have updates later in the program. The police is at Imran Khan's residence waiting to execute a non-bailable warrant against him. In this political chaos, let us not take our eye off Pakistan's severe economic crisis and larger strategic affairs questions that concern the world. And Pakistan that is unstable has implications for everybody, including India. For the moment, thank you, Dr. Siddiqa, Wajahat Khan, General Hussain, and Ambassador Kaju. To our audience, thank you for watching. We'll have more updates in a few moments from now. Thank you for watching. Goodbye. It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.